When you stop explaining yourself, everything changes. Welcome to the Self Concept Bestie podcast. I'm your host, Laura. There's a point in personal growth where you realise that the more you explain yourself, the less powerful you feel. And it's not because you're wrong, but it's because explaining is often a sign that you don't trust yourself yet. How many times have you over-explained to get somebody to like you, to get somebody to believe you, or just to fill in the space? We don't owe clarity to people who don't actually know us or honour our truth. We don't owe clarity to anyone. The clarity starts with us. You are the truth. That's it. You. You don't need to explain anything to anyone. For you to be at peace, you don't need permission from anyone. You don't need anyone to accept you for it to be true or to be accepted. In any aspect of your life, if you trust yourself, you don't need to explain. Explaining goes out the window because you know. So why do we explain? Why do we go and we're over-explaining to people? Explaining is our nervous system responding. It wants us to feel safe. So if we're used to having to be accepted, to prove ourselves to be accepted, we're going to over-explain. We're going to try to get that person to be like, okay, yeah, I believe you. Oh, you are good enough. All right, yeah, I see you are worthy of this. But all it is our nervous system reacting to our old identity to stay safe. We're conditioning ourselves. If we're understood, it means we're safe. It means that we will be okay if people understand us. If somebody sees me, that means I'm safe. And it can also come to be that you're scared of being misinterpreted or disliked, which can come down to a fear of being rejected. Because if they don't understand you, they might dislike you. They might not actually want to be with you. They might not want to be around you. They might not actually accept you. They might not want you for that job, in that relationship, in that friendship, in that community. Because you're not trusting yourself with the words that you're speaking, that you over-explain it. But explaining isn't actually communication. It's actually often self-protection. We're protecting ourselves from all of this old identity, these old fears, what we've known to be quote unquote safe. But that doesn't have to be the new identity. That doesn't have to be you. We can stop explaining. When we are over-explaining, what is the cost? What's the cost of that for us? Let's get into it. It leaks your energy. Go and think of a time when you have over-explained. Have you came away feeling better or worse? Because what actually over-explaining does, it invites negotiation for your worth, for your values. And the more you explain, the more then people may negotiate that, the more then you have to feel like you have to defend yourself even more. And what that does is it starts to create self-doubt within yourself. You start thinking, oh God, I didn't mean it like that. I should have said it this way. This is actually what I meant. Maybe they've got a point. It teaches people that your boundaries are flexible. That actually, she can be swayed. She's gave me too much here. So actually, when you've questioned it, they've put the self-doubt in your mind. You start to question yourself. You start to doubt, actually, am I worthy? Am I enough? When the boundaries are flexible, people can take advantage of it. Then what happens? You lose your power. Because the moment you start justifying yourself, you teach people that you're unsure of yourself, that you don't trust yourself enough. Because if you trust yourself enough, then it doesn't matter what their opinion is. It matters is what you know, who you are. The shift. Come on, when are we going to actually, let's do this. Let's shift this. Let's actually stop explaining. Let's stop complaining and actually draw your power back to yourself. Bring it back. What identity are you running from? We're going to stick with the old one where we need to people please and over explain and leak all of that energy? Or are we going to look ourselves in the mirror and be like, you know what, I know who I am. I don't need to explain. You can think what you think. You can have your opinions, but that is fine. That does not need to be projected onto me because I know who I am. The moment that you decide to start to trust yourself is the moment that everything changes. When you can come at something with clarity and knowing and trusting what you're saying, you one, stop explaining, and two, nobody can question that. Nobody can give you self-doubt. Nobody can influence it. So we choose our clarity over approval of other people. Because we're not actually looking for the validation or the clarity in anyone else when it comes rooted in self-trust from you. Have you ever asked somebody a question and just been silent after it? Because I'm about to give you a massive tip here. Let the silence do the work. When you ask a question or you provide a statement to somebody in a conversation and you pause and you be silent, that silence can maybe feel a bit uncomfortable, but do you know what it automatically does? The other person automatically fills in that silence. And then what happens is they're the ones that are starting to over explain. They're the ones that start to reveal stuff. They're the ones that you're looking and you're like, oh, okay, didn't know that, but thanks for the information. Because you've created the silence because you trust yourself. You don't need to do that anymore. So when I stopped explaining myself, I didn't lose connections. I lost confusion and I gained clarity for me. That's the emotional pivot. When we can look at us and we trust us and what we're saying, we don't look for anyone else to fill the gap. So what will actually change when you stop explaining? Think about a time when you maybe have sat in that uncomfortable silence or you've been on the receiving end of that uncomfortable silence. Who's the one that's bridged the gap? Who's the one that's filled that space in? But what happens when you decide, you know what, I trust me and I'm not going to over explain? Conversations will maybe feel shorter, but they're going to feel cleaner. They're going to come with clarity and you're going to walk away and your power in that knowing. Now, people will either rise to meet you, or they'll just fall away naturally because we stop over explaining our worth to anyone. So the people who feel uncomfortable with you when you're not over explaining, when you're not over giving, when you're not trying to be the people pleaser, the provider, the peacekeeper, they people will naturally fall away. But the right people will rise with you. And how do you win? Because you carry so much less emotional labour. You're not coming away from conversations thinking, oh, I said too much. I shouldn't have said that. Oh, I reacted. And then I tried to make it better by over explaining. But when you can trust yourself, that's all taken away. That emotional labour, that's you're there, you're in your power. You've not gave all of that away to anybody else. And naturally, and I tell you what happens, people respect you more. There's less friction on who you are. They respect you because you know who you are. You don't over explain that. If people don't understand it, that's okay. Let them understand. Let them misunderstand. Let them not understand you. So then there's less friction because you're not trying to prove to anybody, please see me, please, because once I've got your approval, then I will be safe. No, you know who you are. So come on, when you actually stop explaining, the respect that you then receive, but can I almost say most importantly, the respect you start telling yourself, your nervous system, that actually this is what you deserve. Because the right people don't need explanations, but the wrong ones demand them. I know you're all probably saying to yourself, well, how do we do this, Laura? How do I practice this? How do I stop explaining? And one thing I'm going to say is be comfortable being uncomfortable. Any part of growth, we have to do that. We have to be comfortable getting uncomfortable. We have to be able to teach our nervous system and our brains that we are safe now, that we know who we are, that we trust ourselves. And the more that you do this, the more resiliency that you build up, the more you teach yourself and your nervous system that you are safe. So when you're in another situation where you're going to start over explaining, over texting, trying to make somebody understand you, see you, prove yourself, replace the explanations with statements. When you say a statement, there's not much wiggle room for somebody to come back with. The statement, the silence. And just see how that unfolds. Will it maybe feel uncomfortable? Possibly. But actually, what you'll end up finding is it gets more uncomfortable for the other person now because you trust who you are, because you start believing in yourself and you know what you're saying is right. So when the silence feels uncomfortable, that's the work. That's the work right there. That's the integration. That is you leveling the fuck up. We're all here to level up. We're all here to be the best version of ourselves. So why are we going to leak all of that energy into somebody who has not walked in your shoes, who does not actually know you, who has their own perception through their version, through their eyes of you? So why are you begging from clarity from somebody else when you can give yourself that clarity? So when you feel uncomfortable in the silence, just know that's when you're doing the work. That is when you are allowing yourself to feel safe in that. And one thing to ask yourself when you're in any situation where you're about to start over explaining, ask yourself, am I sharing or am I seeking approval? There's a big difference. You can be sharing from experience, from a place of steady, knowing energy to create connections. Or Are you doing it because you're looking for that person to understand you? To say, oh my God, yeah, I see you, you are good enough. If it's sharing, great. If you are seeking approval, pause. This isn't about being cold or being dismissive. It's about being clear. Being clear on who you are within you. And you don't need to tell anybody that. Let the silence, let your energy do the work. I think people get really mixed up here with, and this is something myself that I've had to really notice, that when you're over explaining, when you're over giving, what you're doing when you're leaking all of that energy out, the only person that it's affecting actually is you. But when you start to trust yourself, that's when things start to change. And people don't understand that. They think, oh, well, if I say this, they'll understand. No. Let your energy do the talking. The way that you move, people can sense that. You can sense when somebody is clear and they're confident and they've got conviction in who they are. You can also tell somebody who is vulnerable, who is insecure, who is looking for somebody to tell them that they're okay. We can sense that as human beings. Think of an instance. I've always said this. You walk at yourself into a room. Just think about, even at school, that's one of the best. You're at school, think about, there'll be some people that will get picked on and there'll be some people that won't. And I know this, we're maybe talking about like teenagers, but you can sense the one that's insecure, the one that isn't going to stand up for themselves. But you can also sense the really confident one, the one that knows who they are. And that's in every aspect of life, adults, children, teens. We can sense that energy. Allow your energy to do the talking. Allow you to be confident in that silence. That silence is the answer. And I don't think people understand that sometimes, especially double texting, triple texting, massive paragraphs to people if you're like dating or trying to get somebody to accept you. Silence is the answer. Let your energy do the work. We don't need to explain to anybody that actually maybe doesn't value us how much we value ourselves. Why are we going to leak that to anybody else? Let your silence be the answer. And just watch how much more powerful, how much more you start to trust yourself, how much more conviction you've got for yourself. Because see, when you trust yourself, you don't need to convince anyone. So ask yourself, when in your life would things change if you stopped explaining and started standing? Thank you so much for listening. As always, today is already an amazing day.